Hello, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most dramatic and dangerous moments unfolding in Eastern Europe, a story that could reshape the entire region. The situation in Belarus has taken a shocking turn. Reports are emerging that the Belarusian military has seized several key bases across the country, signaling what many are calling Lukashenko's last stand. The longtime ruler, Alexander Lukashenko, who has held power for nearly 3 decades, now faces the most serious threat to his rule yet. Over the past few days, tensions in Belarus have reached a boiling point. What started as isolated unrest among the military ranks has now grown into a full-scale internal crisis. Military units once loyal to Lukashenko have reportedly turned against him, taking control of several key air and ground installations. These include bases near Minsk, Brest, and the strategically critical city of Hrodna. Satellite images and verified local sources suggest that communication lines between some bases and the central command have been severed. In simple terms, parts of the Belarusian military are no longer answering to the president. For years, Lukashenko has managed to survive protests, international sanctions, and political isolation by leaning heavily on Moscow. But this time, the cracks seem to be coming from within his own army, the very institution that kept him in power. Analysts believe this rebellion has been brewing for months. Low morale, corruption, and pressure from both Russia and NATO have pushed the Belarusian military to the edge. Some commanders have reportedly refused orders to deploy against their own citizens, sparking open mutiny in several regions. Sources inside Belarus claim that Lukashenko is currently holed up in his fortified residence outside Minsk, guarded by elite units still loyal to him. Meanwhile, opposition groups are calling for unity and demanding his resignation. Protesters have returned to the streets despite heavy security presence. Videos circulating online show military convoys moving through Minsk while civilians chant for freedom. The atmosphere is tense, unpredictable, and explosive. What makes this crisis even more dangerous is its international dimension. Russia, Lukashenko's closest ally, is watching closely. The Kremlin has relied on Belarus as a key strategic partner and a buffer against NATO. In recent months, Russian troops have used Belarusian territory for military drills and as a potential staging ground for operations. However, with the Belarusian military now split, Moscow faces a dilemma. Supporting Lukashenko might mean intervening directly, but staying neutral could allow a new government in Belarus that might lean toward the West. Western nations, including Poland, Lithuania, and the European Union, are on high alert. There are reports of increased troop movements near the Belarus border as NATO prepares for possible spillover. Poland and Lithuania have both accused Lukashenko's regime of destabilizing the region for years, but now they are more concerned about instability spilling across their borders. Refugees, defectors, and possible armed clashes could trigger a regional security emergency. Inside Belarus, chaos and uncertainty reign. Communication blackouts have been reported in several cities, with the government attempting to block social media and news platforms. However, information continues to leak through. Several generals have allegedly gone missing, and unconfirmed reports suggest that a number of officers have defected to opposition-controlled regions. For the first time, the fate of the Belarusian government seems to hang by a thread. Lukashenko's strategy, as always, appears to be one of control through fear. But this time, fear may not be enough. His recent televised address was defiant yet visibly shaken. He accused foreign agents and traitors within the army of plotting a coup, and vowed to restore order by any means necessary. His speech, however, only fueled speculation that he has lost control of significant parts of his military apparatus, Observers noted that his tone was defensive, a stark contrast to his usual iron-fisted rhetoric. Meanwhile, the opposition, led by exiled figures like Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, is urging soldiers to defect and join the movement for a free Belarus. They claim that this is not just a rebellion, but the beginning of a new chapter in Belarusian history, one that could finally end decades of dictatorship. International voices have also started to rally behind the movement, with several European leaders warning that any violent suppression could lead to severe consequences for Lukashenko and his inner circle. The economic situation in Belarus is worsening by the hour, with sanctions already crippling trade and the currency weakening rapidly. The ongoing instability has halted business operations across major cities. Supply chains are breaking down, banks are facing liquidity issues, and ordinary citizens are struggling to find essentials. Many fear that the collapse of the regime could bring with it not just political change, but economic chaos. There's also growing speculation about what role Russia will play next. Vladimir Putin has long seen Lukashenko as both an ally and a burden. In the past, Moscow has bailed out Minsk with financial aid and energy deals, but those days may be numbered. If Russia decides to intervene militarily to prop up the regime, it risks igniting a much larger confrontation with NATO, something it might want to avoid given its current geopolitical challenges. However, allowing Belarus to slip away could mean losing a key strategic partner and giving NATO an opening right on Russia's doorstep. Some analysts believe Lukashenko might attempt a desperate move declaring martial law or seeking direct Russian military assistance to crush the rebellion. But such an action could further alienate his own people and trigger mass defections. Others suggest he could try to negotiate a safe exit, seeking asylum in Russia or another allied country, though his long history of betrayal and manipulation makes it unclear who would actually trust him. As night falls over Belarus, the world is holding its breath. The streets of Minsk remain filled with soldiers, armored vehicles, and protesters refusing to back down. The sense of anticipation is heavy, as though everyone knows that the next 24 hours could determine the nation's future. Whether this ends in civil war, regime change, or foreign intervention remains uncertain. But what's clear is that Belarus is standing on the edge, and Lukashenko's hold on power has never been weaker. This moment could mark the end of an era, not just for Belarus, but for the post-Soviet region as a whole. If Lukashenko falls, it could embolden democratic movements across neighboring states. If he survives, it might come at the cost of his nation's sovereignty. Either way, history is unfolding before our eyes. The world is watching as Belarus teeters between freedom and collapse, between hope and chaos. Lukashenko's last stand may very well define the future of Eastern Europe, and it's happening right now. Stay tuned as we continue to follow this fast, developing story and bring you the latest updates on Belarus' fight for its destiny.